Good evening all. I'd like to welcome you to our October lecture. My name is Sinjin Karp. I am the Assistant Librarian at the Horological Society of New York. I'd just like to take a second to thank our wonderful sponsors and partners without whom events like this would not be possible. So first up, I want to share a little news with you. Our classes in the evening and weekends for October have been posted online. We'll be posting our November classes shortly. We also hold horology classes in different cities around North America: Atlanta, Tucson, Toronto, Miami, and Los Angeles. So you can check out and see if there are any classes available in your area. And speaking of classes, next month we're having a special treat. Horological conservator Brittany Nicole Cox is going to be joining us. She does not come to New York all that often, and she'll be teaching some guilloche classes using the Rose engine in our classrooms. This is pretty exciting. This does not happen often, so if you're interested, you better grab tickets while you still can, because it's likely to sell out. Upstairs in our library, we have an exhibit of Seiko watches from Japan, the evolution of Seiko and Grand Seiko. It's going to run through to the end of the year, and you can come visit the library anytime and take a look. The catalogs are on sale at the table at the other side of the room. And if you're desperately seeking horological books, the library is also selling some books if you want to come up and take a look and see what we've got. There are some rarities if you're a collector, and they're usually sold at below market rates. Okay, so I'd like to introduce the main show this evening. Our lecture is called Krayon, Artistic and Technical Creations. Krayon is an exciting watch company that has been really pioneering unusual and sophisticated movements and complications. So without any further delay, I'd like to introduce the founder, Rémi Maillat.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. First, I would like to say what honor it is to be here today at the Horological Society of New York. I am Rémi Maillat, the founder of Krayon. And today's lecture is about artistic and technical creations. I will first quickly introduce Krayon, and then I will explore the technical and artistic aspects of the two timepieces, Everywhere and Anywhere. Then I'll talk a few words about what is Krayon today and the direction it will take in the future. Then I kept some fun facts about sunrise and sunset times, and then I'll be happy to try to answer your questions. Krayon is a company I founded in 2013, and at the beginning it was an engineering studio that makes development for other brands. And the name Krayon comes from the French name Crayon, written with a C, that means pencil, because the pencil is the very first tool we use for any artistic or technical creations, and both meet in a timepiece, and both are a key ingredient inside a Krayon timepiece today. I am 40 years old, and my father was a microtechnology engineer. My mother was a mathematics associate professor, so it was not a surprise for me to study microtechnology engineering in Lolocle in Switzerland. And I was always interested in conceiving mechanism. And I discovered watchmaking at the engineering school, and I really fell in love with the fact it's not only technical and engineering, there is also an artistic aspect in the creation of movement and the creation of timepieces. The first timepiece is Everywhere. And Everywhere is a timepiece that calculates the sunrise and sunset times for every location given its latitude, longitude, and time zone. And the inspiration behind the Everywhere is because I enjoy diving, freediving, and snorkeling. And the very best moment is the exact sunrise or sunset time because it is the moment the nature is the most active. And one day I was too early for snorkeling, and while waiting for the sun to rise, I dreamed about a watch that would calculate the exact sunrise and sunset times wherever I could be and wherever I could one day travel. And nearly 10 years later, everywhere was this dream come true. Everywhere is equipped with a universal sunrise and sunset movement, which is a first in watchmaking history. It allows the wearer to adjust the latitude, the longitude, the time zone, and the watch will calculate and display the corresponding sunrise and sunset times that also change every day of the year. At the beginning, I really consider it impossible. But then later, I tried to identify what are the different parameters that could have influence on sunrise and sunset times, and try to calculate them separately and find a way to combine them. And so the first is the latitude. And the latitude is the amplitude of the sine wave of the variation of sunrise and sunset times throughout the year in true solar time. Then we have the equation of time, and you know the equation of time is difference between true solar time and mean solar time. So it will help us to convert the information in mean solar time to display it in a timepiece. We have the longitude, and the longitude will add or subtract a value proportional to the degree of longitude. If we move to the west, we will have the sunrise and sunset times later. If we move to the east, it will be earlier. And then we have the time zone and the daylight saving time that will add or subtract a value by increment corresponding to the time zone. And finally, we have the date, because everything is driven from the date. Each day of the year, the sunrise and sunset time changes. I started first to consider a latitude of 45 degrees because it is halfway between 0 and 90 degrees that are the minimum and the maximum. And I look for available data that is given from astronomic observation, and I choose to use the data on the spreadsheet published by the NOAA, that is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration of the US. And I look at the shape of the sunrise time, depending the days of the year, in a true solar time. So the graph on the left shows exactly this, and I see it really looks like a sine wave function. So I try to best fit a sine wave, and the graph on the right shows the error between the mathematical sine wave and the astronomic data. And we can see that the error is maximum 4 minutes, knowing that the astronomic data resolution is 1 minute, so the error is very low. I did the same then for all latitude from 60 degrees north to 60 degrees south. And this graph shows the approximation for all of these latitudes. And the next graph will show the error. So this shows the error between the astronomic data and the sine wave function. So we can see that except for extreme latitude, we have very few error, and it's like 2 or 3 times the resolution of the data. From all of this, I created this graph. And this graph shows the amplitude of the sine wave depending of the latitude. And so we have all the latitude from 60 degrees south, minus 60, up to plus 60, that is 60 degrees north. So the next step is to create a mechanism that will make a sine wave of which we can change the amplitude. And the first we could think of is to have a wheel with a cam and to have a rotational filler that is in contact with the cam. And if we simulate this mechanism, we will see that it does not create a sine wave, and we have error more than 10%. And so I think about another mechanism. Sorry. And so this is the other mechanism where we still have the wheel and the cam, where we can change the eccentricity of the cam, but then we have a translation filler. And if we simulate this mechanism, we see that it really creates a perfect sine wave. This animation shows you this mechanism in function. And we have the yellow wheel that turns and makes one rotation in 1 year. On the yellow wheel, we have the green cam, and we have the blue translation filler. In this other animation is to show that we can adjust the position of the cam. And so this is the object of a patent filed by Krayon, one of the 3 patents inside the everywhere. So this patent has a priority date of February 2016. The next step is the equation of time, because all what we see already is only given in a true solar time, but we need to convert it in mean solar time to display it in the watch. And the idea is to replace the round shape of the cam by a cam whose shape is a function of the equation of time. So we can see on the graph we have the equation of time where the radius depending the angular position is a function of the equation of time. And so starting from this point, we need to create 2 cams. One will act for the sunrise and the second for the sunset. This animation shows you the 2 cams and the 2 translation filler, one for sunrise and one for sunset. And they are driving 2 rack pieces that drives the display for sunrise and sunset. What we have to see is when the 2 translation fillers are at the right of the screen, we will have a very long day. When they move back to the left of the screen, we will have a shorter day. That's why we need 2 cams, because when we have day getting longer, we have sunrise getting earlier, and we have sunset getting later. So it has opposite effect on sunrise and sunset. That's why we need to have two cams. One has the equation of time positive, and the second one has the equation of time negative. And this graph shows you the sunrise time at different latitude, this time with mean solar time. So if you look what we have at latitude of 0 degree, it really is the shape of the equation of time. And then if you have higher latitude, it is a combination of a sine wave and the equation of time. And it is the exact same graph we have for the astronomic data and the theoretic simulation of the mechanism. This animation shows you the whole mechanism in function. And you have the yellow wheel that makes one turn in 1 year. And the gray wheel is the adjustment of latitude, exactly. And you can see that when we only turn the date, the wheel of latitude does not turn. But we have a differential gear train inside where every component is moving, but the result is the absence of movement of the gray wheel. This second animation shows you the same mechanism, but this time the yellow wheel is not turning, and this time we are adjusting the latitude. And you can see the hand is the display of the latitude, and it can be set from 60 degree north to 60 degree south. You can see also this is a gear train used to drive the adjustment of latitude, and it acts on the gray wheel, and it makes the two cams sliding on the yellow wheel. So you see here, you have the two cams sliding because the position of the cam is a direct function of the latitude. This shows you the same mechanism seen from the other side. And now you can see clearly all the gear train from the adjustment mechanism on the top left up to the hand that display the information. The next step is latitude and UTC. And what we can see is that they both have opposite effect. Both will have offset of sunrise and sunset times the same direction. So the idea is to first combine UTC and the longitude, and then use this information to combine with the rest of the mechanism. So the cross section shows the mechanism for longitude and the UTC. On the left, you have 3 wheels, and so this wheel is for the longitude, this one is for UTC, and this one is a combination of UTC and longitude. And we use a differential gear train to combine information of the both wheels, and also to transmit the movement from the adjustment mechanism. And so this shows the complete movement of the mechanism. And so we have this hand is the hand of longitude. And currently, we are setting the longitude toward east. And when we set the longitude toward east, we have sunrise and sunset times that move earlier. And we can see all the gear train from the winding stem. And then we have all of the gear trains. This is a differential gear train that combine UTC and longitude. And so then the result is transported up to this mobile, and this one we will combine information using two differential gear train. So the result is the addition of the movement of this mechanism that has latitude and date, and this mechanism that have the longitude and UTC. And then we need to be able to set the date, the latitude, the longitude, and the UTC inside the watch. And the adjustment of latitude and longitude has to be continuous. It cannot be done by increment because we need to be able to select absolutely any latitude and longitude. It has to be done forwards and backwards because latitude is limited between 60 degrees north and south. And so I created a function selector to be able to correct all of this information from the cron. And so we have a pusher at 8 o'clock that will select the different parameters. And then with the cron on the third position, we can do the adjustment of the parameter. And so this shows a function selector. And we have here the hand that display which of the parameter is selected. This is the axis with 5 cams, and we have one cam is driving the mechanism for the display, and then the 4 other cams are driving 4 different levers that will engage each mechanism, so we can set it with a cron. Then we also face some more technical challenges. As we have long gear train, we need to reduce the backlash at the maximum to keep the calculation accuracy and to allow the adjustment in both directions. So to do it, I had to create own standard of gear shape, to create elastic gears, and no backlash differential gear trains. So this shows own standard of gear shape. So it is defined from the shape of the tool, and it is done using generation cutting. Generation cutting is a technique where both of the component and the tool are turning at the same time with perpendicular axis. And so the result is that each teeth of the component is the exact same shape. This is a special gear shape I created and I use inside the everywhere and the anywhere to have reduced backlash. And just for information, the gray wheel is 1.4 millimeter of diameter. And this is elastic gears. Elastic gears are only used inside the everywhere. And this allows to create a tension between the two components and to avoid the free play and the backlash. this is differential gear trains. There are 4 differential gear trains inside the everywhere, and all are equipped with this non-backlash mechanism. Basically, what we have all the satellites, and we have the chassis, and we have one of the satellites is not mounted on the chassis, but it's mounted on a lever that is held with a spring, and this will create a constant tension between the teeth of the satellite and the crown wheel and the center wheel. And so in 2018, Everywhere was awarded the GPHG Innovation Prize. And for engineer like me, it is the best prize I could ever dream of for a watch. And so after that, it pushes me to try to improve in all the other domains inside the watch. And this is maybe the most interesting moment in the history of Krayon. Because after launching Everywhere, I continue to learn about watches, and I see that Everywhere is very much focused on engineering, but there are also many other aspects that are very important inside a timepiece. And in 2020, I introduced Anywhere. And Anywhere uses the core functionality of Everywhere, that is the calculation of sunrise and sunset times. But inside Anywhere, the change of location is a watchmaker adjustment. So this is Anywhere in white gold. That is part of the collection introduced in 2020. So it displays sunrise and sunset times with outside rings. And the location is preset before shipping the watch and can be adjusted later on if we bring back the watch to the workshop. It has hour and minute at the center, and the sun is hour in 24 hours. This is Anywhere in rose gold. That is also part of the collection. And at 6 o'clock, we have the date and month display. And it is a simple calendar. It means each month has 31 days. But it is very simple to adjust because we can set forward or backwards, and it is adjusted with the crown and the intermediate position. This you recognize the centerpiece with the wheel and the 2 cams of equation of time. But this time the connection between the wheels and the cam is this adjustment screw. And the watchmaker will turn this screw to adjust the position of the cam on the wheel and therefore to adjust the latitude. This video shows you how the mechanism is working. So we have the wheel that is turning with the date, and it drives the translation filler on the rack piece. And on the 2 bridges, on the 2 sides of the centerpiece, we have the adjustment screw that is used to adjust the longitude and the time zone for the sunrise and sunset times. Now let's talk more about artistic creations. And I have to admit that to create Anywhere, it took me more time to create the watch case and dials and display than to conceive and create the movement itself. I would say that technical creation is easy in the fact that you know when you have the solution, when you have the correct answer. But if you create a dial, you never know, at least you are never sure you achieve, or you don't know if you still need to work to improve it. And I was conceiving the anywhere. I wanted to have a white gold case with a blue dial, and I did several tries to find the different color for the day and night part. And one day I was visiting the Kunstmuseum in Basel, and when I saw this painting from Amédée aux Enfants, I knew it was this combination of light blue and dark blue, because it has a perfect match together and also perfectly match with gray, white, and black. I really like the texture inside the dials, so there is a lot going on the anywhere. And we have foliage on the center and on the rail. Foliage means we have small rays that is like sun rays. So we have the foliage on this surface, on this surface. We have the gauchage. Gauchage is the lines we have on the center dial. And we have a circular graining on the minute track. So this is this part we can see. And we have giclage, and we also can call it, what is the other name? So this is for this part, we also call it opaline. So it will create a surface that is uniform, but not too shiny to avoid reflection and to be able to read the information on it. We have two different types of azurage. So the azurage is the lines we have on the subdials. And we have the pitch on the date dial that is larger than on the month dial, but there is a flat surface between the two lines of azurage. This will help to have the printing of the days that is more legible. And also we have a three-dimensional design. We have the sunrise and sunset marking on a nearly vertical surface, this one. So the idea is when we look at the watch from far away, we can clearly see the numbers on the top of the row, and then if we have a very close look, we can have very precise information for the sunrise and sunset times. We have a curved rail and a curved minute track, and we have the center date and month dial that are at three different levels. The idea is to always have the hand very close to the dial to have good display of the information. And we have the sunrise and sunset disk that are made of sapphire with a miniature painting. And inside the painting is gold dust powder. In the day and the night, this will create this shiny effect. And in the night, the large stars are made of superluminova. The rose gold version, the day is only made with gold dust with a transparent lacquer. Inside the dial, all the text and number, they are not just aligned on a curve. Each letter and digit is deformed. It is like if we printed the text on a bar and then that we bend the bar. And so we even use finite elements to calculate the deformation of the text. If you look at this example, we have the printing of midday and the corresponding drawing. And you can see that all the serifs of the M and the I, they perfectly follow the curves on the base on the top of the letter. So the text is deformed to follow its environment. So each letter and each number is different depending where it is placed on the dial. This example, we can look at 15 and 25 inside the date dial. And we can see that 5 of 15 and the 5 of 25 is completely different. Because the 5 of 15 is concave, and this one is convex, because all of them will follow the lines of the azurage. Another example is 2 of 23 and the 2 of 25, and we can see the same. One is convex, the other is concave, and it's really designed to follow the environment. If we look at each letter independently, it looks really strange, but if we look at the whole dial, it looks balanced. And the dial gauchage represents longitude and latitude lines on a globe. And the hour marker, they draw the Y, that is the Krayon logo. We can see on the hour marker, all the surfaces are matte except these three, and they draw the Y, that is the Krayon logo. And the sun-shaped indicator is the indication of 24 hours, and each ray of the sun is a different shape, different length, and it is polished in a different angle. So if we look at the watch under sunlight, we will see each sun ray lighting one by one at different positions. For me, the hands are very important because it is what you look at when you use the watch, and it has to be visible enough, so large enough to be visible, but not too much to give precise information, and not to hide what could be underneath. And hands, they are all made of steel on all versions of the Anywhere. And all surface of the is hand shaped and hand polished. We have 4 inward angles, 2 for the minute hand and 2 for the hour hand. So this is the inward angle. And the top surface of is hand polished, and it is slightly bercé. It means in this direction, it is slightly rounded, so this will allow the hand to reflect more light. And we have a countersink at the center of the minute hand. It takes 1 day to decorate a set of hour and minute hand. And the date and month hand are black mirror polished. The hands are assembled directly on the steel pinion, so we don't use a brass cannon to make the connection. So it means that each hand is adjusted individually to perfectly fit the corresponding piece in the movement, and we use a special tool with 2 degrees of conicity. Then this allows us to perfectly have the target assembly force for every hand. And we also have a special tool to remove the hand without touching the dial and without damaging the hand. The Anywhere is made of 432 components, and all components are designed and manufactured specifically for it. Even the balance wheel and air springs have been developed by Atocalpa specifically for Krayon. So it's a manually wound movement with a frequency of 3 Hz and a power reserve of 72 hours. And the thickness of the movement is only 5 millimeters. The finishing of the Anywhere is done to an extremely high level. This really was one of the purposes of the Anywhere, to showcase nice finishings. And we have manual anglage on the bridges, and the anglage is rounded, bercé. So this reflects way more light, but it takes more time and requires more skill to shape it and polish it. It is the most difficult type of anglage to do in fine watchmaking. And especially we have very sharp outward angle and we have inward angle, and it is the best place to see the attention to detail in the fine craftsmanship. We have spherical countersinks and mid-glass jewels. So we have large jewels and large countersinks to highlight the mechanism that they hold. And we have étirage on all the sides of the bridges. We can see it, the best we can see it on this bridge, on this one. And the étirage will create straight parallel lines throughout all the contour of the bridge. And to create these straight, long lines, the only way is to have a tool that we hold by hand and that we move alongside the contour of the bridge manually. So it takes as much time to make the manual étirage of the bridges than to shape and polish the anglage. And finally, we have no visible screw from the caseback, the screws that hold the bridges to the main plate. This is particularly obvious for the balance bridge and for the escapement bridge. And I made this technical and artistic choice to have 432 component movement that look still clean and simple, and to focus the attention on the mechanism itself and on the screw for the adjustment for sunrise and sunset times. But this has a huge impact on the process of assembly, because at a certain point it is a very long process if we need to disassemble a bridge. So this requires us extra care at every step of the assembly. But anyway, we do assembly twice, because when everything is finally adjusted and working perfectly, we disassemble everything and we clean everything and we make the final assembly. In this photo, we can see the anglage with the inward angle, the jewels with the countersinks, and this decoration is carried not only on the bridges, it is carried out on all the components of the timepiece. So we can see the bridge and the components on the cam assembly. We can see the translation filler, the rack piece, and also to the hundreds of components that are not visible because they are underneath the dial. We have the same exigency in decoration for all surface of all components. And the shape of the bridge is the shape of the shore of Lake Neuchâtel, all around the city of Neuchâtel, because Krayon workshop is located in Neuchâtel, near the lake. And the decoration on the top of the bridge, we call it Krayon waves. And the shape of it is a graph that shows sunset times at 45 degrees north of latitude, depending the days of the year. And the Krayon waves, when we look at it, it creates some kind of rainbow effect. And this is due to light. So all the different color we see is due to light interference. I will try to explain. So this is a bridge with different stripes. And if we have a light source will have all kind of visible light and different wavelength of light. And if we have a certain wavelength, maybe from what we see, it will create an exact number of wavelength. The distance will be exact number of wavelength. So in this reflection, we will see high intensity of the blue, and for another color, maybe it will be like 2.5. So each wavelength, no, each light reflection will have opposite waves, so it will nearly cancel. So in this example, we will see very few of the orange reflection, and it will change every position we look at the bridges. And so this will only occur if the stripes are very precise to a nanometric scale. And we develop the tools and the technique to achieve this decoration. In 2022, we introduced Métier d'Art Azur. It was a limited edition of 15 pieces with a platinum case. And the dial is made of miniature painting on an engraved dial. And it is composed of more than 680 cells. And each cell is a different shape and a different color. And it really is a challenge to create a constant gradient throughout all the dial. So it is both artistic and technical dial. This is another example of Métier d'Art dial. This was a unique piece made for Jean Todt. And in 2022, Krayon was awarded the GPHG Calendar and Astronomy for the Anywhere. And it is the second consecutive prize for Krayon after Everywhere in 2018. And this is really a confirmation of our vision of the watchmaking art. And our vision of the watchmaking art is to make new complications or new types of complications that are at the same time useful, simple to use, simple to read, simple to adjust, simple to understand, and inside timepieces that are comfortable and, I hope, enjoyable to wear daily. And we will continue our exploration of these new complications. This is our workshop today. And today, Krayon is still 100% independent. I own Krayon with my wife. And so we are completely free of all the choice we make. And in Neuchâtel, we have the workshop. We have one room is dedicated for decoration, where we make all the anglage and the preparation. And one room is for the assembly. So a very clean room and a room for decoration. We are a team of 12 today, and starting from the main plate to the final control of the watch, we have one watchmaker that is responsible of one watch. And now some fun facts about sunrise and sunset times. We will speak about atmospheric refraction, about the time the light travel, and we'll see what happened on July 8th and see why it is perpetual by definition. And the first interesting fact is that we have approximately 14 minutes more sunlight every day because of atmospheric refraction. So because the different layers of the atmosphere, they will slightly deflect the light that arrives from the sun. So this is where is the sun, and this is where we see it at sunrise or sunset. So we will have nearly approximately 7 more minutes of sunlight at sunrise and approximately 7 more minutes at sunset. So next is that the light takes 8 minutes and 20 seconds to travel from the sun to Earth. It means that we don't see the sun where it is. We see the sun where it was 8 minutes and 20 seconds before. And during this time, the Earth turns 2 degrees. It means at sunset, the sun is already below the horizon for more than 15 minutes, 7 minutes due to atmospheric refraction, and 8 minutes due to the light travel time. On July 8th at 11:15 UTC, every year we have 99% of Earth's population that is in daylight. And finally, perpetual by definition. Our time measurement system is really designed to follow the movement of Earth, or the movement of the stars seen from Earth. That's why the sunrise and sunset times will repeat each year exactly the same for eternity. Our calendar is designed to follow the orbit of the Earth around the sun, so we have a lot of correction on the calendar to always follow what happened, what we can see from the astronomy. And we even readjust the atomic clocks to follow the variation of the Earth's orbit speed. And for example, we sometimes add leap seconds in the atomic clocks, and the last one was the 31st of December 2016. The next one is not yet scheduled. This graph shows the difference between the time seen from the astronomy and the time of the atomic clock. And so the sunrise and sunset takes us back to the very fundamentals of the time measurement. This is really from the sun we build all our notion of time. And even if we live in an environment where we don't see the sun, we completely lose the notion of time. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy this presentation. Yes.
Thank you, Rémi. What a treat. That was
Thank you.
so interesting. It's not every day that someone creates a new kind of complication from scratch. You know, you had to solve so many problems for the first time. So I'm sure people have a lot of questions for you. Let's go to the Q&A. If anyone has a question, please raise your hands, and I'll come around with the microphone.
Thank you. Certainly an incredible piece of work. But just a basic, simple question. So when the sunrise movement, when you move from whatever, from Neuchâtel to New York, how do you readjust exactly the sun? Because correct, it would be a different wave.
So
If you want to have the sunrise in New York versus Neuchâtel, and you're moving
yes.
in time zone, you have to readjust it, correct? Or
So with everywhere, we will adjust the latitude and longitude and time zone of Neuchâtel, and then it will display the position of Neuchâtel. If you have anywhere set to New York and you would like to set it to another position, you can reach your local retailer or directly to Krayon, and they can arrange so the timepiece is adjusted in our workshop in Neuchâtel, and we can use the adjustment screw. This one adjusts the latitude, and this one adjusts the longitude and time zone. This one is for sunset, and this one is for sunrise.
Who else has a question? There we are.
Hi, Rémi. Welcome back to New York. One question. You mentioned on the Everywhere, there was an elastic gear train. What is the material used in that elastic gear train? Because that was very complex, the teeth of it. I was just wondering, what is that made of?
So it is made of nickel, and it is produced using the UV Liga technology.
I see another question from Nick, our executive director.
Thank you, Rémi. That was an incredible lecture. Could the same mechanical principle that you have invented be used to calculate sunrise and sunset times mechanically on other planets? Could you have a Mars watch?
That's an interesting question, Nick. I think if the behavior of the planet is comparable to Earth, it means it rotates on itself and it rotates around the sun, it should be possible.
You can partner up with SpaceX for the next one. So I know you mentioned that you're thinking of new kinds of complications for the future. Are we allowed to ask what kind of complications they are, or is that top secret at this stage?
I think you will be stunned to see that something as simple and as useful as that has never been done before.
Oh, I believe you. All right, who's next?
Thank you for this. This is mind-blowing. For the Anywhere, does it make any kind of adjustment for daylight saving time?
Yes, for the Anywhere, so we can adjust the daylight saving time, and to do it, we change the UTC parameter, and even to remember how to do it, we add inscription on the dial, and we add a small arrow with a DST to remind that when we move to the daylight saving time, we need to switch UTC +1.
Is that something a watchmaker has to do, or is...
With Everywhere, you can do it by yourself.
Okay.
With Anywhere, the Anywhere will not take account of the daylight saving time. And so most of the time we set for the time zone without daylight saving time, except if the customer requests specially different.
Thank you.
I know I saw a question at the back here.
Thank you very much. This was unbelievable. With a lot of the other watch brands that have come and presented their works, they have entire teams of people that develop and kind of create the movement or the dial or just some of the design. Are you doing this all yourself? Are you like a one-man show on this, or are you working with a team of people?
So for the development of the movement and the design, I work with my wife. She's also an engineer, and so we take time to do it. We have no pressure to have release it for all the new watches or complication we do.
Hi, thank you. I was just wondering, when you were discussing the two different mechanisms in terms of the angular feeler and the translational feeler, you said that you had to use the translational feeler because that was the one that gave you the most accurate representation of the sine wave. I'm assuming the angular feeler, the error comes from like sine error. So I'm wondering, is it possible, because it seems like the angular feeler is simpler, to just, like you convolve the equation of time onto the circular cam for the translational feeler, to then just convolve the error correction for the sinusoidal error onto the angular feeler. So like it's a circular shape, right? And then the shape of it changes because of the equation of time. Could you then change the shape again to correct for the error in the sine error if you're using the angular feeler?
Yes, the error of the rotational feeler will depend the amplitude of the sine wave. So it would be very difficult to correct this error because it can change depending this parameter. And really, what is really useful with the translation feeler is that whatever is the value of adjustment of the latitude, the contact point on the cam only depends on the day of the year. And so, because if we change the value of latitude in any angular position of the cam, it will change the contact point on the translation feeler, but the contact point on the cam will remain exactly the same. So this will allow us to separate the two, and this will even allow us to use the cam to have the information of the equation of time.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Just wondering, what inspired your design for the watch you did last year for Only Watch for 2023?
Yes, for the last Only Watch, I wanted to show reflection of light, reflection of the sun on the water, because it's really something that is also linked to the function of the watch. And I spent more than 1 year to try to find a way to make a dial with it. And then when I visited the National Gallery in London, I see this painting from Theo van Rysselbergh, and that really shows a coastal scene where we have the center of the painting is water with reflection. And so I use the same post-impressionist technique to create a dial with a miniature oil painting where we can see the texture of all the small brush strokes inside the dial. So really to have a miniature artwork.
Thank you. I thought it was Vincent van Gogh.
Sorry?
I thought it was Vincent van Gogh.
Van Gogh was a watch for Jean Todt.
Does anyone have another question?
Rémi, since we're on the subject of the art piece, the métier d'art, I would love to understand the choice of material used to fill in the color and why you choose that material versus another material. Can you explain why?
So I use lacquer because I really like also the texture on a dial, it means that each cell on a dial, when it dries, it will create a concave shape, and it will create a play with the light and some reflections, and it is really something I wanted to do and create on this dial, not to have something that would be completely flat.
Thank you for the presentation. This is an amazing piece of
Thank you.
engineering. So I thought it was interesting that on your first iteration, the everywhere, there's clearly a simplification taking place, but from the everywhere to the anywhere in the general design materials used for some specific parts, such as the user settable time zone for the sun change. What, I guess, like, why did you come to the decision to make that change, which makes perfect sense from a complexity and functionality standpoint when someone's at home most of the time, but like is kind of counterintuitive to like what we see in a lot of watchmakers where they're adding functionality in iteration?
Yes, because once I found the way to make the calculation device for the latitude, at this moment I took the challenge to create the anywhere completely. And then step by step, the everywhere became extremely complicated, because we also have all the display of the information. So we have the gear train for the display. We also then have all the adjustment, and we have all the gear train for the adjustment. And then we have the function selector, and so we have all the components for the function selector. And so at the final, the art of the complication is even not visible, because it is surrounded with a differential gear train and a large wheel, and it is underneath a bridge. And so I really wanted to showcase the art of the mechanism, and also have something that keeps most of the functionality of the everywhere, but that is way simple to use, to read, to adjust, and also inside the timepiece that is a slightly smaller dimensions, and that has a manual winding with a nice crisp sound of winding and a nice feeling when using it. And so for the anywhere, I really focus on all the different aspects, not only on the function, on the creation of the function. Because as a microtechnology engineer, when I first learned about watchmaking, for me the construction and conceiving of the movement was the center of what I know about watchmaking. But then I continue to explore and learn. And I think that's why Anywhere is a product that is much more mature in this point compared to Everywhere.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Hello, thank you for the wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
I was just wondering, you mentioned that when you founded the brand, you were doing a lot of work for other watch companies, and I was wondering, does Krayon still do that work, and do you have any desire to license the mechanism or the complication that you've created?
That was one of the possible possibilities for Krayon between around 2015 when I was developing it. But then I really wanted to make my own timepiece, my own way with this mechanism. And that's why slowly from 2016, Krayon was working on his own project and stopped working for other companies.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Yes, hi. I was wondering what happens when your watch goes to altitude, or if it goes underwater, or magnetizes, or goes someplace like that. Is it affected? The movement affected?
So the watch is water resistant 30 meter. We test all the watches before shipment. And the sunrise and sunset times is calculated at sea level. So if we are in the mountains, we will anyway not see the sunrise and sunset because we will have the mountains hiding. But error is not that large. And yes, watch, like any watch, can have effect with magnetic fields, especially if it is often in contact with scanners at airports. It can have a long time effect on the accuracy of the watch.
Thank you for the wonderful lecture. I very much enjoyed it. But from the picture, it looks like the cam is interacting with the metal by going metal on metal contact. How does that play into the friction role inside of the watch, and what are you doing to mitigate that possibility?
So yes, we have the two cams is metal to metal contact. So we have the cam is made of cupro beryllium with gold plating, and this is what gives one of the best, one of the lowest friction when in contact with steel components. If we have two steel components in contact, one to each other, we have much higher friction.
Thank you.
Did I see another question? There we are.
Hi, yeah, what an amazing lecture.
Thank you.
Just, my question's simpler, I guess. How many can you make in a year?
As to today, we make around 50 watches in 1 year.
Amazing. Can you meet demands if you're making 15 a year? Are more people ordering them than you can make them?
Sorry?
Can you meet demand? It seems like it's such a beautiful watch. So many people must be ordering them, but they're so complicated. It takes so long to make them. Can you meet the demands?
That's why we only make 50 a year. So we work based on the yearly allocation with our retailers worldwide, so they can plan when they will receive it. I don't make. I don't believe in the seven years waiting list, because then when people receive the watch, they don't want it anymore. They have many other watches they are involved in. So I prefer to work on allocations and allocate watches for the best retailers worldwide.
Thank you. Here we are.
Thank you very much for
Thank you.
The presentation. Considering the complexity and scale of your achievement, is there anyone else doing work today that you feel is producing complications that are truly unique and innovative, in your opinion?
I'm not sure to have understood your question. Sorry.
In the broader timekeeping pieces world, do you feel that there's anyone else making work today that represents new complications that are impressive to you?
Yes, I really consider with other independent watchmaker and other watchmakers that we don't fight against each other. We all participate to the development of the same art, and we share the same customers and the same retailer, and we really participate to make the fine watchmaking understood and appreciated worldwide.
Thank you. What a beautiful talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm curious about the learnings. If you were to start today, what might you do differently as a new watchmaker?
That's an interesting question. Today, if I look back at the challenge I took to create the everywhere, today I would say that I was really too crazy to do it.
Does anyone else have another question for Rémi? Here we go.
So first of all, super interesting. It was interesting that you spent so much time also on the non-technical stuff, like the art piece of it. Are you tempted to make a non-complicated watch that is maybe sold at a slightly more attainable price?
I think I will always have a technical specialty inside the watch, because it's really a part of the DNA of Krayon. But it could be something simpler than a 432 components timepiece.
Thank you very much. Was that the last question? One more. Here we go.
On the Anywhere, I was wondering, with the latitude and longitude configurations around the world, is there any place in the world that it doesn't work, or it doesn't work as well, based on the shortness or length of the longitude?
Yes.
And latitude.
I made the choice for the Anywhere to slightly reduce range, but in exchange to have a better accuracy. It means the range for the Anywhere is around 55 degrees north and south, and not 60 like the Anywhere. But this allows to have much better accuracy, because the same movement of the cam will represent more change in sunrise and sunset time.
Rémi, you're so popular. Everyone's had so many questions. If I've overlooked anyone, please shout, dance, sing. You've got one? Here we go.
Yeah, which one are you wearing right now?
I am wearing Anywhere Aura. It is a limited edition of 25 pieces with a titanium case. It is adjusted to Neuchâtel.
Well, if that's the last question, then Rémi, I'll thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
It was a fascinating lecture.